Narragansett Park, featuring 26 days of thrilling racing. 9 action-packed races daily. Post time, 2 o'clock. Now through July 30th, including such nationally famous events as the Independence Day Handicap for $20,000 added. The Providence Stakes, July 13th, the Governor's Handicap.
Welcome to the story of Narragansett Park, a racetrack that once stood as Rhode Island's crown jewel of sport and spectacle. For nearly half a century, it brought together celebrities, legendary horses, political drama, and unforgettable crowds. Today, we'll dive into its fascinating history, from its roaring debut to its final decline. Strangely enough, there were actually 2 tracks that carried the Narragansett name. The first opened in Cranston, Rhode Island, all the way back in 1867. Originally built for harness racing, it was a lavish venue with stables, carriage houses, and a sprawling grandstand. In 1896, it even hosted the first oval track automobile race in the United States, won by an early Riker electric car. This Cranston track would last until 1924. But the Narragansett Park that most remember, that came later in Pawtucket. In 1934, Rhode Island legalized pari-mutuel wagering, and within just 2 months, a brand new racing palace rose in Pawtucket, Narragansett Park. Costing over $1 million to build, it featured a 1-mile oval, a 14,000-seat grandstand, 22 barns, and its very own highway access and rail spur. The track opened on August 1st, 1934, and was a sensation. Over 37,000 people poured in, including Hollywood celebrities, politicians, and sports legends. Just weeks later, on Labor Day, a staggering 53,922 fans crammed into the stands, the largest crowd ever recorded for a sporting event in Rhode Island. Narragansett Park wasn't just big, it was innovative. It was one of the first tracks to install a photo finish camera and a mechanical starting gate, and it drew the stars. In 1935, a relatively unknown horse named Seabiscuit arrived and electrified the crowd, setting a track record, then equaling it just days later. For the next decade, Narragansett's premier races became staples of New England horse racing. The Narragansett Special, the Rhode Island Handicap, the Providence Stakes, the New England Futurity, and the New England Oaks all brought in the nation's top horses, jockeys, and owners.
Governor Quinn orders the closing of Rhode Island's famous Narragansett racetrack and officially charges that it is a harbor.
Narragansett Park became the stage for one of the strangest political battles in Rhode Island history, known as the Racetrack War. Track President Walter O'Hara was already controversial, accused of shady practices like rounding down winnings and manipulating photo finishes. When state officials tried to clamp down, O'Hara defied them, going so far as to physically assault the governor's steward at the track. Governor Robert Quinn demanded O'Hara's removal, but O'Hara fought back through the courts and in the press. In his own newspaper, he ran the infamous headline, "Quinn will land in Butler, mocking the governor with a jab at a local psychiatric hospital." Quinn hit back with criminal libel charges. The conflict spiraled out of control. O'Hara holed up in his penthouse above the clubhouse, blasting March of the Wooden Soldiers while the National Guard surrounded the track. Quinn declared Narragansett Park in a state of insurrection, shutting it down and canceling the fall season. The standoff dragged on until early 1938, when O'Hara finally resigned. Racing returned, but the scandal left a permanent mark on the track's legacy. Even so, the track still had its moments of glory. In September of 1942, more than 35,000 fans packed Narragansett Park for one of the greatest match races in history, Triple Crown winner Whirlaway versus Preakness champion Alsab. It came down to a photo finish, Alsab winning by just a nose. For many fans, that race cemented Narragansett Park's place in the pantheon of great American tracks.
It's still Alsab in front, and here comes Whirlaway under the whip. It's Alsab by 3/4 of a length. Alsab by a half, with Whirlaway still coming on. It's Alsab by a half a length, and here's the winner. It's Alsab by...
But by the 1950s and 60s, the shine began to fade. Attendance dropped. A devastating barn fire in 1960 and new competition from lotteries, television, and greyhound racing pulled audiences away. By the 70s, Narragansett Park was struggling. In 1977, it pivoted briefly, hosting concerts like the Beach Boys, who drew a record crowd of 40,000, the largest concert audience in Rhode Island history. But the crowds for racing never returned. On Labor Day in 1978, just 2,882 people paid admission. 2 days later, the track closed forever. In 1979, the property was sold to the city of Pawtucket for $5.6 million, and just 2 years later, a fire destroyed the once grand clubhouse. Today, commercial buildings and shopping plazas cover most of the land. Still, reminders of the past remain. Street names like War Admiral Place, Whirlaway Place, and Seabiscuit Place quietly honor the legends that once thundered down the Narragansett Park stretch. From triumphs and scandals to innovations and heartbreak, Narragansett Park left a mark on Rhode Island's history that endures to this day. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this look back at one of racing's forgotten landmarks, make sure to like, subscribe, and let us know what legendary track should we cover next.